Hello, this is Michael Tyler welcoming you to another CarveWright CNC project. This project is called the Heart Photo Locket, which is a unique photo frame that can be displayed on a bookshelf, wall shelf, a table, or a credenza. The carved front doors open up to reveal a photo and form a tripod-like support so that the frame can stand upright on its own. It's a great gift item for any loved one, but it's especially appreciated for Valentine's Day, for wedding or anniversary gifts too. The finishing technique I used for the sample you see here includes the use of standard acrylic craft paints and a rattle can clear coat. Of course, you can choose to apply whatever finish you like for your own Heart Photo Locket. The Heart Photo Locket is available directly from the CarveWright Pattern and Project Depot online store, and it includes the CarveWright MPC project file and illustrated step-by-step PDF instructions you can print out. Those items, along with this video, will help you along while making the project. If you do decide to create this project for yourself, please post photos of your version at the CarveWright user forum and your social media accounts. Please subscribe to the CarveWright email list and this video channel to be notified when new CarveWright projects are posted so you won't miss a thing. Please enjoy the rest of this video to see how this project was created. Happy carving! The components are all sanded. I'm ready to apply a coat or two of thinned seal coat. And what I mean by that is I'm going to mix 1 part of the Zinsser Bullseye Seal Coat, which is actually just 100% wax-free clear shellac. And I'm going to mix 1 part denatured alcohol. So I've got a 50-50 mix, 1 part of seal coat, 1 part of denatured alcohol. And what that will do is raise any fuzzies that are left on these carved pieces, and I'll be able to sand those off a little easier because they'll be stiffened up a little bit. So I'll apply 1 thinned coat on all the pieces, let it dry, sand it again, and then I'll take a look and see if we need a second coat or not of the thin seal coat. After I applied the thin seal coat, I went ahead and sanded up all the parts again. I did not have to apply a second coat of the thin seal coat, at least not now. But before we move on with the final finish, we want to install a couple of small box hinges. And I'm just going to use some of this blue painter's tape to tape it all together so I can lay the hinges on there to line it up and make the holes, pilot holes for the screws. And I've also got some clamps on standby just in case I need to use clamps to keep this tighter together while I apply those hinges. So I'm going to go ahead and use these small 3/4 inch by 5/8 inch small box hinges. You could use larger hinges such as something like this, a little bit bigger. It's 1 inch by 13/16 of an inch, but I've already got this one open, so I'm going to go ahead and use the smaller hinges. And if you are having trouble finding small box hinges, just go to a craft store like Michael's, Hobby Lobby, places like that. And you could even take in a couple of these pieces with you just to make sure that the hinges you're getting are appropriate to fit here on the hinge location. Okay, so I'm going to tape this all together and maybe use the clamps too. and then we'll go ahead and make the pilot holes and install the hinges. Okay, as you can see, I've got it all taped up, ready to go. Everything's lined up, both sides there. And the main thing is I just need to get these surfaces flat with each other. And what I'm going to do is just eyeball this hinge to have that hinge directly on that center line there, and then equally spaced between the end of the curve here and the end of the curve here. So I'm going to go ahead and mark those holes. I'm just going to mark a couple of them. In fact, I think what I'll do is I'll mark 3 holes, and that will give me some diagonal support there. That 4th hole I can make a pilot hole for after these 3. And then what I'll do is I'll take this hinge off, and I'll mark these holes and drive this all in to be appropriate for these small tiny brass screws. By the way, you do need to use a very small screwdriver for these brass screws because they're very soft and easy to strip if you're not careful. So you need an appropriate sized pilot hole, which is just fine with this awl, and then a small screwdriver to carefully drive those in without stripping the heads. So I'm going to go ahead and mark the center of these circles that I've drawn, and then I'll drive in the screws. Okay, let's go ahead and open these up. The hinges are holding all right. Okay, that's going to work out just great. All right, before we apply the final finish, I need to go ahead and remove those hinges we just installed, and then we'll get going with the rest of the process. The hinges have been removed, and so we're ready to proceed with the rest of the finishing process. I've decided I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of paint and glazing technique on my project. Of course, you can choose whatever finish you like. If you want to just stain it and apply a clear coat, or maybe you're carving some pretty hardwood, you just want to leave it natural, maybe apply an oil or something like that as a finish, that's fine. But for this process, I'm going to go ahead and seal the wood further with this gloss crystal clear Krylon spray, and then follow that up with some of this flat crystal clear spray, just to give paint and glazing a little more something, a surface to bite onto. So I've already done the bottom side of each of these pieces, and I've already begun giving some light coats on the top side. So I'm just going to continue on with that, and then after that's dry, we'll finish up the finishing. Now that all these parts are sealed with that Krylon, the Krylon gloss and then Krylon flat, I'm ready to apply some color, and I'm going to use some acrylic paints. And what I want to do is I want to paint these flower areas here, and then also give a red border around the heart. So I think I'll go ahead and paint the flowers first. That should be the easiest, and let that dry, and then go ahead and do the red borders last. So it's just a matter of deciding what colors, if any, that you want to apply. And I've got a few assorted size brushes here just to be ready. I don't know if I'll use all of them or not. So I think I'm going to go ahead and apply some blue to the flower petals. And I'm just using a relatively small brush. You get the idea here. I'm just using this small flat brush and painting around the petals of that flower. So I'll go ahead and finish up the rest of them. I might want to put a second coat, we'll see. I'll let this first coat dry. Anyway, I'll finish this up and then I'll come back to you in a few. All right, the paint's dry on the flowers, so I'm just finishing up, squirting out some of this red acrylic paint. I'm going to take a rag and just wrap it around a gloved finger and just try to make that fairly smooth, fairly tight. I'm going to try a little something here. Instead of using a paintbrush to paint around this edge, I'm going to try to wipe it on with just a rag wrapped around this finger, just to add a little touch of color around that edge. So we'll see how that works out. I'm just doing this for a little practice. Okay, let's try it, see if that works. That's a lot easier than a brush, that's for sure. Okay, I'll do that with this one here too, and the top of the picture frame portion as well. All right, I've applied all the color and the color's dry, so before I apply the glazing technique, I'm going to have to give a few more light coats of the gloss crystal clear Krylon, then follow that up with flat, and then that'll be to seal the paint, and then I can apply the glaze over that, wipe it off, and then we'll let that dry and apply the final clear coat. Okay, I'll repeat that a few more times, just give it some light coats, and we'll come back with you when we're ready to glaze. Okay, I've grabbed a couple of these, what they call tie rack pegs, and basically they're just a dowel with a ball end on it. And I dipped each end of these into some of that 50/50 seal coat solution, and then I just am painting the ball end with gold acrylic craft paint, some of this stuff. And once these are dry, then I'll trim these off. The holes in the heart doors are about 1/4 inch deep, so I'll trim these off with a fine-tooth saw, and then we'll glue those into the doors. Okay, so I'll set these aside to dry and get back with you with the rest of the assembly. Glazing's dry, we're ready for the final clear coats. The sealing on the paint's all dry, so we're ready for the next step, and that's some glazing. So I'm just gonna squirt out a little bit of this brown acrylic craft paint. This one's just called Real Brown. So you can pick any glazing brown that you'd like. And I'm gonna thin this out with a little bit of water. Okay, let's just take one of these and I'll show you how it's done. Pretty simple, just brush it on, get it in those crevices. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to leave this natural all around the edge. So I'm just going to be glazing the top here. Of course, you can do whatever you want. This is just my preference here. Okay. And I'll just take an old paper towel here, just wipe that. So you can see I'm just wiping most of that brown paint off and leaving some behind in the crevices. And that just tones down that paint a little bit so it's not quite as garish, I guess you'd say. Okay, let's do the other half, the other door. A little bit more water here. same procedure, just wiping that off. Now if you do get a little bit on the sides here, just dampen a rag or paper towel and just wipe that off, because this is all sealed really well. So that should just wipe right off. Let me check this one. Looks pretty good. I'm going to wipe off just a little more of this brown on this one here, just to get a good match between the two. Okay, I think that's going to be fine for that, and I'm just going to give a little touch of this brown glaze on this frame. It's going to be a very subtle difference. You won't really see a whole lot of difference there, but it'll tone down that red just a teeny tad. Okay, I think I'll just let that dry. And once it is dry, then we'll apply the final clear coats before the assembly. Glazing's dry, we're ready for the final clear coats. Okay, I've grabbed a couple of these, what they call tie rack pegs, and basically they're just a dowel with a ball end on it. And I dipped each end of these into some of that 50/50 seal coat solution, and then I just am painting the ball end with gold acrylic craft paint, some of this stuff. And once these are dry, then I'll trim these off. The holes in the heart doors are about a 1/4 inch deep, so I'll trim these off with a fine-tooth saw, and then we'll glue those into the doors. Okay, so I'll set these aside to dry and get back with you with the rest of the assembly. Okay, it's time to make the cutouts of photo and clear plastic and cardboard backing. Now for the cardboard backing, I did purchase some chipboard, just medium weight, or you could just use a leftover scrap piece of the cardboard that comes with a legal pad. And then I do have some .007 clear plastic sheeting that I can trace around. So I printed out a copy. I just scanned it on my HP printer and it prints it out. This is an 8x10 photo, so this is not the original. This is a copy I printed out, and I did print it on some photo paper. And also, the PDF instructions include a page with this heart pattern. So this outer perimeter is the shape that will fit within this pocket that's on the back. It's 3/16 of an inch deep pocket. So I'll have the plastic, then the photo, and then the cardboard backing. So I'm going to cut the cardboard backing just a little bit oversized to see if I can do a friction fit to hold the plastic sheeting and photo in place without the use of any other hold-in method. But I do have these glazier points that if I need a hold-in method, I could use those instead. I'm going to try to get away with that friction fit. So I'll trace around this outer shape first on all 3 items, and then on the photo, what I'll do prior to tracing around this outer perimeter, I'll go ahead and cut out the interior so that it acts as a window, so I can position that heart exactly how I want over the photo, and then trace around that outer perimeter and cut that out. Okay, I'm going to fold this heart in half and just make it a little easier to cut that interior guide out. It doesn't have to be exact, but you know, close enough to give me a little window I can look through to position this over the photo. Unfold this. And this will be our guide for placing over the photo for positioning this trace. Okay, I'll trace around this and then we'll cut out the photo. Okay, we'll just do a quick test fit here. Get this out of the way. Okay, so we have the plastic piece fits in. Then the photo. And then our cardboard backing. It's a friction fit, and I'm not going to push it in all the way right now, but I'll trim that up so it friction fits, pulls that in. So there we go. All right, I'll go ahead and put back the hinges, install the hinges on here, and then finish up with pressing these pieces into place. I'm placing a little bit of glue inside these recessed holes for little gold handles I trimmed off from the original dowel. Okay, we'll let that dry and we'll put on the hinges.